Perfect, perfect. How are you?
Good, good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Um, I'm better now that you have passed and
Yeah,
you are in a position where now you can, I guess, breathe out, and it's
absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how how you're feeling, and did you do anything to, I guess, celebrate? Um,
Uh, yeah, well, maybe I kind of did. Well, I sort of like in the mood of this is just the first step towards my ultimate goal, which is the
mhm.
PE license. So I didn't want to celebrate too hard, but I guess I did kind of, um, get a fancier lunch than usual at work on Friday. So something
Nice,
like that. Yeah.
nice. I'm assuming you told people that you work with that you passed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My boss, my boss's boss, and everyone. So watch out, the
That's
and
that's
licensed engineers coming.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I sometimes, when you get that message or that feedback, I always encourage students, to take a second, celebrate because this is a big, big accomplishment and I'm excited. Like I'm thankful, but also excited that you passed. So, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, for the students that are listening, introducing yourself, I guess, formally, and letting people know, what it is that you do, maybe some of the schooling that you had, and kind of what have what were you looking to use this FE to do?
Okay. I guess I can start by saying that I'm probably, one of the more uncommon profiles, not just, in your student, but also I'm guessing FE exam taker in general, right? Because of my history. Um, First of all, I'm older. I'm in my 50s,
Yeah.
and I graduated with my civil engineering degree back in 1998. And yes, you heard that right. That's 27 years ago. So I had my civil engineering degree was focusing on transportation engineering, which is basically what my junior and senior year was all about. So anything other than transportation, I haven't seen for about 30 years. And then I did continue my education. I earned my master's degree in transportation planning in 2001. And then I worked as a researcher at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and eventually went back to school and I earned my PhD degree in transportation infrastructure maintenance back in 2017. And not until 2020, when I started working at my state's Department of Transportation, then I realized that I was passing, I missed the moment for to get my PE license because, well, that's obviously required for some of the positions and also, to basically to continuing on my career. But I was procrastinating to do that until finally back in uh, towards the end of 2024 when I just got to get started doing that and I looked it up
Hmm.
and obviously I need to take the FE exam and then the PE exam, which is my ultimate goal, like I mentioned. So, and I actually emailed the chairperson of the engineering licensing board in Wisconsin saying that, okay, I have all these experience working as an engineer
Hmm.
and I have these degrees, advanced degrees, and can I just count that? Does it count for something?
Take your yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then my reply was that unfortunately in the state of Wisconsin you can't do that. And there are states that do count for the advanced degree to replace the FE exam, but not in
Oh,
Wisconsin. So I get
no, Wisconsin.
so yeah.
All
So
good though.
so I looked it up and then all right. So I guess I'll just have to start from the beginning, and that's
Yeah.
when I started looking at materials and uh, looked up all kinds of different stuff on YouTube, and that's where I found you. So
Awesome. Well, sounds like if I need to learn, a little bit more about transportation, traffic, you're the go-to guy because it sounds like you did a lot of research and spent a lot of time in that realm. So that's pretty awesome. Not wasted time for sure. And even though it's a bit later in your career, I think all that time was definitely necessary to advance your knowledge in
Hmm.
that specific section. So
Yep.
very cool stuff. So let's talk about how long it took for you to study for this exam. So when did you officially start studying for it?
Yeah. So when I started with your program, I think, um, again, I didn't know what to expect, right? I basically just, okay, I need to start doing this. And again, I will need someone else's help. And because I tried studying by myself, and then there's just the timeline that is just so hard with all my, other responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, work responsibilities, family responsibilities. So when I started doing that, maybe it's because, the program, well, it is the exam itself is set up like a little slower, like very basic stuff. So I sort of like kind of, okay, maybe I spend an hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, frankly, maybe every other day I skip. And then I sort of like, okay, maybe that this one evening I can do 3 hours of stuff. But then I realized that I was not able to even catch up the very simple stuff on my first meeting with you. And then I realized I got to put in some more hours. So again, I started, trying different things in terms of, maybe I can steal an hour in the morning and then 2 hours in
Mm-hmm.
the evening, things like that, different type stuff. And then I think eventually the balance that I've got was probably about 2 to 3 hours a day on weekdays, and then
Mm-hmm.
3 to 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
I think that's the sort of like the routine that I've gotten to in the past 2 months or so. Yeah.
Okay. So sounds like so it sounds like you it was a mix of about 2 to 3 hours during the weekday, 3 to 5 on weekends. So you found your balance. I think also I want to highlight. I think we started back in was it you signed up for the program in January,
Yeah,
right?
in early January, and then I know because like, again because I travel for work quite a bit, and then also some international travels that I schedule already. So I had to stretch the program out to about 6 months, and then
Mm-hmm.
towards the end I also didn't get the schedule for the exam, so that delayed it again for about a month and a half. So yeah, total of 6 months, probably a little bit more than 6 months of this program, with you. Uh,
Yep.
so
And that I think that was like you said, took a little bit of time to travel, so minus a month for let's just say
yeah,
travel and
yeah. At some point, I
um,
got 3 weeks or even more
yep.
to get
So
to the
and
next
then
chapter.
yeah, exactly. And then that the final period was the scheduling. So I want to highlight that because I think that's important for students that are coming in to know about scheduling. When
Right.
you booked your exam, how far in advance was it kind of pushing you out to?
Uh, I guess it's about a month and a half. I scheduled it in early June, and I
Hmm.
didn't get it until June 19th. Uh,
Okay.
There, and in
So,
fact, when early June when I started it, I looked it up, and there's only 2 spots in July that's available. I didn't, and I just picked one of them. Uh, so,
gotcha. So it was a little bit of limited scheduling. So
mhm.
as you're preparing and practicing, you kind of want to time for students listening. You want to time this stuff and check to make sure that when you're wanting to take the test, it is actually available. And so scheduling it out ahead of time is good.
Yep,
But at the same time, you don't want to schedule it and you not feel like you're on pace
right.
to actually take the test when you schedule it because you're gonna have to start paying more money
Yeah,
to reschedule, right?
yeah. I guess they made it a little easy because here's the thing, you can't really see the schedule until you're paid, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but they do allow you 1 year to schedule after you paid. So I guess that's sort of like kind of, if you think you will be at least ready in the next 3 or 4 months, and you know you're going to take it anyway, just, you know, register and pay the fee for the exam, and then you can just, slowly look up into the schedule and see when you can, sort of like schedule yourself when this time is best for you.
That makes sense. Perfectly makes sense. So let's talk about some of the challenges that you had as you were studying, right? Were there any things that really you kind of fought with or struggled with when going through and studying?
Yeah, absolutely. And you remember this, that, but I'm really struggling with the time aspect of it, which is basically the essence of the exam, right?
Yep.
It's and I'm really glad that you guided me through all that, making sure that, this is like there is a time limit for these things, and that makes it an average of 3 minutes per problem. And just to get it into my head and start, that process that you went into making sure that 3 minutes or go, that actually helped me a lot in the actual exam. And I was struggling really hard on that in the first time, and then I didn't force myself to train myself to do it, to do a problem's time, because when I'm studying and looking at your videos,
Hmm.
and also we're even working on the practice problems. Of course, you did a time quiz, and sometimes I do it, with actual time, but it's really, in small chunks, it's really different than, a big chunk of time for the whole 5.5 hours. So I was struggling with the time aspect of it, but again, you identified that and then, try to get me going, and it just making sure that every time I'm working on a problem, making sure that it's time. So when the time comes for the actual exam, I'm used to, having that sort of like a clock ticking in the back of my mind, because,
Is is that what helped you move faster? Because I feel like initially, I kind of brought up the idea of time and we kind of went through and had some
Mhm,
growing pains, right? But
right.
when I mentioned time, did you begin timing yourself outside of the timed sessions, or how did you
No, I
get
didn't.
faster
That's
within that?
not until maybe the last month or so that I really, really did that, because yeah, again, this is why I need someone to guide me, because
Hmm.
I think that's what's most important about this, is that you know getting a one-on-one, for me, it's necessary for this one, because I know I could study. I know, if I know I can dedicate the time, but by following your program, you don't just give me uh, uh, problems, or tests, which is helpful, obviously, but
Hmm.
you also, right from the beginning, you told me you're going to observe me working on problems and give me feedback of what you think will help, and that is so invaluable, I think, for me, in this
Gotcha.
program, because you told me what I wasn't really thinking about. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's very insightful, and I've had people reach out. It's crazy today that
Mm,
were talking about the level of difficulty within the problems. And so I want to, I guess, bring to the attention of my audience is that, sometimes the level of difficulty in a problem is important, but there are other pieces to this that are important, like the time aspect of things. Um, Time is very crucial in being able to solve problems. But not only that, you have to be able to understand all the pieces to the problems. And I think if you don't understand all the pieces to the problems, it's going to be very challenging for you to be able to solve problems fast and be able to take any type of problem and be able to solve it. So,
right.
would you, once once you got on the test, let's talk about test day,
Hmm.
right? On test day, how did you feel? I don't think we touched bases on actual test day. I wanted to let you, you
Yeah,
know, work and that's a big day, so I wanted to let you kind of focus on the test that day. But
right.
what did you see on the test, and did you feel confident on the majority of the problems?
Yeah, actually, the first session was actually, I found it much easier than I thought, or at least what I expected. So I felt really confident after that. And I did look at the time because I knew this is when, it's going to be my downfall. The time is going to be, I really took, you know, really took note of that. And quite literally, as I look into the clock ticking, and again, you mentioned this to me, right? So I looked at the clock ticking
Mm-hmm.
down, and I looked at the clock is on the wall right, right up, right above me. So I sort of calculated I got 53 question in the first session. So I sort of like, I actually, that's the first thing that I did with my calculator. So what is the time that I'm hitting on the clock up there? Because otherwise I'm going to have to keep counting down. So I actually wrote that down every time I flip my scratch paper. So that's the time that this is my target for 53. So
Gotcha.
so I'm always aware of where I am, and sometimes I'm behind, and I realize that. But I know that, you know, with two or three conceptual problems, I'm going to be ahead a little bit. Um, so, I'm always in track of that. So, which is actually something that helped me a lot. And I found that I felt that after that first session, I was very confident because I felt like I didn't even have to. I flagged maybe two or three, and that I wasn't sure. And I had plenty of time to go back, and then and just basically, I guessed like those two or three that I wasn't sure of. But other than that, everything else I knew what to do, and just immediately went through that. It's interesting because um, I've always, I stumbled quite a bit, throughout, working on practice problems with you, right, and throughout the program.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed sometimes I missed a twist or something, and but I actually noticed at the actual exam that I actually saw the curveball when it's coming. So it's like, see, I could have, like for instance, these are simple things sometimes but I know that immediately when, things like cubic feet to cubic yard, very simple conversion that they actually provided the wrong answer for that. So I actually know I immediately look at the unit measurement and, I knew that at the end when I found the number, I got to divide or
Mm-hmm.
multiply or whatever. So
So you knew
it's
what
it's
unit.
crazy that working on actually putting the work and doing things that actually make you you know alert of all these kind of things that they're throwing at you. So
Yeah, yeah. It's not just a problem. It's so many pieces that are going into it, right?
yeah.
Yes, you have the actual problem that's written out or drawn out for
Hmm.
you, but they will mess with you on units.
Yep.
They may add information that is not important.
Yeah.
They may try to get you to use a certain formula or try to trick you up and maybe put an answer on there that has not been converted in the correct units. And
Hmm.
so from the program, the goal was is for you to do so many problems, right? So much practice, mess up so many times that you're like, y'all not about to get me today. Like this is
Yeah,
not a
that's
tough
it's like the
test.
satisfaction when seeing that.
Yeah.
So I guess to continue on that, so I went to my break, and then when I went back, I immediately, this is with full confidence and saying that I know what the time that I need to hit. So again, I do that again, calculate, put it down on my scratch paper. Uh, and then I started looking at this. And this is also what I was struggling with throughout the program is that when I got problems that I couldn't immediately realize how to solve, and I get rattled, and then I get, everything just, but I didn't do that. I actually immediately, like maybe 5, 10 seconds, I flagged, next, flag next. I actually skipped the first 3 or 4 problems in the second session.
Okay.
But then I found one that, finally that's okay. This is, and then I went back. I have plenty of time at the end to go back to them and then just start doing them. And but get to you know get the momentum, because I would not let that ruin everything just
Right,
because of
right.
that. So I think that's the mentality of going into this with confidence. And because
Yeah.
I 3, 4 problems skipping, that would really rattle me before, but this
Yeah.
time I do not want to, I really, really didn't want to, have it to ruin everything. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's crazy because we literally talked about this. We were like, I was like, don't let one problem, you know, get you so rattled to where you take it into the next problem, right? Every
mhm,
problem receives 3 minutes of
yeah,
importance, and after that, it's like it never happened, and you move on
yeah,
to that next one. And so, I'm so glad you were able to, implement that on actual test day. Um, so glad you were able to not let that rattle you. So let's talk about some of the other resources that you may have used. Because yes, we can talk about the program and how great the program is, but some students may be like, that's just promotion, right? So what were some of the other? I think you mentioned that you did some other practice problems from other different sets. What were some of those, and um, do you mind sharing, what you used?
yeah. I
In
guess
addition.
I guess some of those. I mean, you actually linked in your resources, right? And, like
Mm-hmm.
things like obviously I got the NCS practice exam, the booklet, and then some of the other content from YouTube as well, like Manson or Hansen, or
Mm-hmm.
you know they are very, and again, it's just provide you with all kinds of different. I get varieties is important in this thing, because you see different problems from different angles, and looking at it and solving it different ways, really, because some of the things you can't really uh, uh, there are multiple ways to solve these things sometimes,
Yep.
and sometimes there's a shortcut or something that like for instance, if you have like a structure and then you cut it in the middle, but then you do a solo moment on a point outside of it instead of what you've already cut out, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just something I wouldn't think of that if I didn't watch these things. And
These
there's some
videos.
creative ways of solving things, and I think that's kind of important.
Yep. Isolating different variables.
Mhm.
Did you use any physical books?
I didn't actually.
Okay. No, no
Everything
physical
is
books.
just digital and
Okay.
download or just watching some content.
Cool. Cool. I think that's important to let students know. Hey, they're the people who are passing. They're not only using the resources that I'm providing, but they're putting in the work, and they're also taking initiative as well. Like you took initiative to to search things that you didn't understand, right? Because I'm
Yep.
going to try to lay the foundation and give you the majority of what you need. But when students take it to the next level, it almost creates an atmosphere that, create makes it impossible to fail. So,
Yep.
Emo, was this your first time taking this exam?
This is my first time taking the exam. Yep.
Okay. So you were able to get it on your first try, which is
Hmm.
awesome. And I think, spending the, 4 to 5 months just sticking with it, studying, fighting through was the
Yeah.
reason why you were able to get through it and not trying to skip steps.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of some other things. Um, was there anything strange that you noticed on test day? Like, I heard you say that you had to look at your clock. Was there not a running clock on
There's
the
a
actual
running
test?
clock, but it's a
Okay.
countdown, right? And how to
Yep.
tie it into the, so I don't want to keep thinking about it. So
Gotcha.
so I know that, 53 questions, 3 minutes, and then I calculated that and I added to what time it is now. So this is the time that I wanted to hit. So that's about timing. As far as problems, I guess I didn't realize that there's going to be so much of, sort of like a different types of questions. I guess like uh,
What were some of the things you saw?
um, yeah, I guess there are more than I expected. Things like, like the uh, rearranging things. What's the order
Okay.
of five
So you
things,
had to
16?
order.
And again, I sort of like, because this is the type of question that you really don't want to waste, right? You want to get it right, but
Mm-hmm.
if it's like six things and there's only one possible correct answer,
Choice.
and sometimes it's just like a little bit ambiguous. So I actually took my time on that one, although it seems like, it's easy, like you can do it in 10 seconds. But remember, I have 3 minutes to do this, so
Yes.
let's make sure that it's correct. And also one of those, yeah, basically just enter the value of things, although you don't, usually they provide, I mean, it's the same type of problems. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
the answers are, you have to
You don't
actually
have a.
enter,
You don't have a. You don't have
which is good
a
because that's
choice.
how you've been training me in the beginning too, right? So
It's
I
funny.
can't, yeah,
It's funny because I feel like I'm being a butthole by doing some of those things. You're
yeah,
like, I remember you asked, "Are there any answer choices?" I'm like, "No, there
no,
are no answer choices. You must know the right answer, right?" Like keeps you from guessing, keeps both of us honest, right?
yeah, yeah. That's actually helpful because that's actually what happened, and there's quite a bit of them in my test. I think I more than five, so it's surprising actually.
That is
So
surprising. I'm
yeah,
actually
so it was
shocked.
like,
So
what, another one of these? Okay, well, let's just get going
let's just get
calculating then.
the correct answer. Yeah. So you had
Make
to,
sure.
so you had fill. I'm assuming you had to order them, and I guess you had to put your
Yeah,
answers in order. You had
yeah,
to just enter answers straightforward with no A, B, C, D.
yeah.
Did you have fill in the blank?
Yeah, I guess that's what fill in the
Option?
blanks is, right?
Okay, like I'm saying, like a maybe not a numerical value, but
Oh,
like a. Did you have any of those?
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Um, how about as far as conceptual type stuff to numerical? What did you see more of? Did you see more numerical questions or did you see more conceptual or was it about
Uh,
50-50?
no, definitely much more numerical. Conceptual is probably, I don't know, 25 to 30% at most.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. A guy I just talked
But,
to,
uh
go ahead. Go ahead, but
however, there are a few of these numerical questions that they're so simple that I didn't even have to write down on my scratch paper. So I just literally used my calculator and I got the answer. So
plugged in.
maybe that's sort of like a balance it out. But so you're saying about,
So yeah, I was saying that I literally talked to a guy who just passed. His name is Renat, about 3 days ago, and I just posted his interview on YouTube, and he was like, he saw about 50%, and you guys took the
wow,
test around the same time. So
okay,
it's as you can hear from different people's experiences. It varies test to test,
yeah,
and it varies day to day, right? So
yeah,
like you mentioned, you were able to pass your test on the first try, and so you got students coming in with all different backgrounds, with all different types of experience, and some people have failed it, so they're a lot more serious. So you're going against those
hmm,
students, as well
yep,
as students who have just finished school. You're going against those students, so you really had a lot to battle with as far as you know standing out and making sure that you were ahead of the curve and then you know not getting rattled. So there are a lot of things that you were able to do on test day that's super commendable, and definitely salute to you for being able to get it done on this first try. So any advice that you would have for a student currently studying?
um, I guess if I want to keep it short and sweet, I guess if I can do it, then you can too. So no, seriously, if an engineer in his 50s who hasn't seen or dealt with or even thought of basically 95% of the materials in the FE exam can do it, then any engineer
Mm,
can.
no.
Really, you just got to put in the work, and that's the key there. And I think um, people are different. So what the work is for some people is just a couple hours a day. For some people, you need to actually dedicate more time. But you just got to find the balance and be confident and make yourself confident in exam day, which is strange because uh, I feel here's the thing: after the exam, I don't feel like I'm 100% sure I'm going to pass, but I feel content because I know that have I did everything that I could as
Hmm.
far as dedicate the time and you know all putting the work and practice and do all kinds of things. And I've actually in the last week I actually took it a little easier than in the past month. But and the last day I basically just looked at the solutions and just sort of like played it in my mind, things that I've done before. But yeah, I after it's completed, then I was content. And I think
Yeah.
that's the goal there. So because, it doesn't, whatever the result is, I know I did everything I could.
Yeah, and that is a awesome feeling. I love hearing other people say that. That is something that I kind of go by as well, right? If
Hmm.
I've make sure on my end that I put people in the best position or whatever I'm doing, I try to make sure that it is done to the best of my abilities. And once I've done that, then hey, the result is the result. But
Yeah.
you know, that's a beautiful thing to feel content about the work that you've put in. You know how many hours you've put into it. You know that you've sought help. Um, I mean, you've done everything that you could literally do, and so
Yep.
that's pretty dope. All right, last question. I'm gonna get you out of here on this.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you
Okay.
remember the strategy?
Absolutely.
What is that strategy?
Number one is reading all uh, the problems right
Yep,
correctly, and so exactly what it is, and and make sure that what is known and what is being asked,
yep,
and then determine whether or not you need a handbook for that,
yep.
and which formula you use, and just started doing it, plug and chuck, or whether you have to do something else. But then 3 minutes, and then you move on to the next
Perfect, perfect. It's always cool to start on that note and end on that note. I literally harp on
one. Yeah, and I
this
think it's
strategy.
important. Yeah,
It is very important and it works, but
yeah,
students have to buy in. I'm so glad you bought in, and
yeah,
it's been it's been awesome working with you. This
yeah.
may not be the
Same here.
last time that we work together. I know you're planning to. I'm assuming you're going to plan to take your the traffic or
Yeah,
transportation.
transportation. So yeah, I'm thinking, might as well while I'm still still retain some of the memories, right? So
Hmm.
might as well just, you know,
Go ahead and
get at it again. Then maybe even 4 or 5 months I can take the exam. So we'll
that's
see.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's been like I said, it's been a pleasure working with you, and we're definitely going to need to stay connected. Um,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I know you have a wealth of knowledge and you're very resourceful in your specific area of transportation and um, you know like I said I don't win if you did you didn't win so this has been awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate all your help and your guidance all throughout the program. Yeah, for sure.